I'd like to introduce this afternoon's webcast, Microsoft EPM Demand Management and Portfolio Management. My name is James Wright. I'm a consultant with CPS in Microsoft EPM and SharePoint and Microsoft Project. For those of you joining us today, I know some may be familiar with CPS and already working for us, and some people may be new to CPS. Our background really is as a formed from the mid-90s as a group of consultants, very much skilled in planning and project, portfolio and program management. And around this time is when collaborative tools, now I say that it could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but we'll see this as an example here, came to the fore. So this is where we became partnered with Microsoft in around the year 2000, and have worked with the EPM Enterprise Project Management product right from that time, and also including SharePoint as that's grown up over the years. We are a technology specialist in this, but we are still, as a heart, a project, program and portfolio management consultancy. And as such, we are an APM Group accredited consulting organisation. Even though for you who are familiar with CPS, we just also want to introduce, for you if you haven't heard yet, that we are now part of a European coverage beyond our UK base. We partner with a German-based consultancy, and we've now set up a new office called CSX based in Holland to cover the Benelux region. So anybody from European coverage, please do let me know if this is something that is of interest to you. Okay, just to introduce what we're going to have a look at today. So we're going to have a look at Microsoft Enterprise Project Management. And I put this in the context of think back to 1987, the first release of Microsoft Project really was a desktop planning tool, and its evolution from that time was a desktop planning tool. If we move on into the year sort of 2000 to 2007, really then was the creation of the collaborative tool that is EPM that we're going to see today. And that really grew up to be a central enterprise tool looking at standard schedule management across an organisation, resource management, program management, collaborative reporting, collaborative working on projects. And now today we're going to have a look at the 2010 release of this product. And the 2010 release, one of the major releases within this was the demand and portfolio management. Essentially we're going to concentrate on in this webcast today. Okay, so I'm going to take us through a demonstration system so we can have a look at demand and portfolio management in action. And I'd follow a very simple life cycle of a project for the purposes of demonstration. So we're going to start right at the beginning where we're going to create some new projects. We're going to create some new ideas and new potential projects that we're going to potentially want to do. We're going to go through a process of selection and prioritization to see which of the ideas that we created we are going to take forward into a planning and managing phases. So today we're going to concentrate on create and select, and we're going to look at these areas of functionality with the tool. We're going to look at demand management. Demand management really talks about handling the demand of new projects and new programs and ideas coming into our workflow. We're going to look at how we build a central repository of information about these potential projects by capturing information, business case information that we're going to use to make decisions on these potential projects. This information then we're going to use in a portfolio optimization and prioritization process. We're going to look at aligning our potential projects to strategic objectives or business drivers or whatever we want to call them. And we're going to look at how we can deliver as much business value as we can given constraints such as cash, resource, etc. So resource then brings us into a high level capacity planning, and we're going to see as well the reporting that we can get out of this. So this is today's webcast. We also have another webcast that is available and is scheduled and available on our website, that then covers the plan and manage stage. So really getting into the details of plans and resources. But do see our other webcasts for that. And then when we have the totality of the product, then we're constantly going and reassessing and managing the workload that we have. Okay, so what are we going to see in the demonstration? To implement a function such as this, we need technology, which we see in the green here, but we also need a level of process governance and people to run this. In terms of the technology, we've got a standard base capability of the SQL Server holding everything when I say central repository. We're building on SharePoint capability here. So for those of you who are familiar with SharePoint, SharePoint is Microsoft's key collaborative tool. Again, if you want to know more about this, we do have other webcasts on SharePoint that we schedule and are available on our website. Well, we're going to extend this collaborative capability with Microsoft Project Server. This really takes us into the realms of plans and resources and everything we're going to see today. We have Microsoft Project available to us as a planning tool. However, we won't cover that today. Microsoft Project comes into it when we actually get to the plan and manage stage. Today, we'll just be looking at the Project Web Access, because this is the tool through which we'll deliver our demand and portfolio management. And then we can extrapolate this further, and as well as the standard views and reports we'll see here, the stack then builds for total business intelligence reporting out of this. Okay, so that's what we're going to see now in our demonstration. Okay, so I'm going to change to a demonstration system here. I'm just going to change over the view in live meeting. And you should now be able to see my demonstration system on your screens. Okay, what do we have here? So I have here Project Web App. You'll see I'm being delivered through Internet Explorer and is a web app. And for those of you who are familiar with SharePoint, this may already look familiar as a standard SharePoint 2010 look and feel. In terms of look and feel, what I'm delivering here is really an out-of-the-box installation of Project Server and Project Web App. It is fully configurable in terms of look and feel, logos, layout, color schemes, buttons, even navigation as well. I have a demonstration data within this system. So we're going to look at a fictitious company who has some demonstration project objectives, some portfolio objectives, some example lifecycle and workflow, and some example projects that are in here. Okay, so I'm going to start off as the key central view within Project Server is our Project Center. So this is our central repository of all of the projects and programs that we're putting through our life cycle and managing. Now I'm concentrating on the ones here that are at the beginning of my life cycle. Project Center is something that we can use more to plan and manage. So do see our other webcasts for more details of Project Center. However, from here, the piece that I want to concentrate on is the new button. And really this is, I want to create a new idea, potential project, potential program. So I have some templates here that I can pick from to start creating a new project. Now this will template the process that I follow, so the workflow and the life cycle I'm going to go through. For instance, a very small piece of work, we may want minimal life cycle and governance controls. But I'm going to pick one here with our standard process. So I'm going to create a new project. Okay, so here I have form-based capture of information. I have a nice graphical view of the process that I'm going to follow here. And here we can see this is very simply my demonstration lifecycle. It's very simple. I'm going to submit an idea. It's going to go for approval. Is this a good idea? If it is, Then I'm going to go to the next stage where I'm going to build some business case information and capture all the information that we need in order to make decisions on this. Once that is satisfactory, I will take this through to a selection process, and here I'm going to use my portfolio analysis, and then the projects that I choose to take forward will go into our plan and manage stage. But at this stage, my submit request, I've just chosen a very simple form to complete. I'm going to have my new project idea. Now this is just an example form. We can have as much or as little information captured here as we like. So this is going to go forward and create an entity in the central repository called my new project idea. If I go back to my project center, once this workflow runs, we will then see this in the project center. What I will do now is, I've got a new project idea created there. What I will do now then, this is now actually stood waiting to go through an approval to say, is this a good idea? Should we go forward and collect more information on this? So I'm going to skip forward now and have a look at a project that has been through its authorization process and gone to the next stage of my workflow. So let's have a look at this project. So here I can hit my workflow again, and now I'm highlighted in yellow that I'm at this stage in my workflow. I've been through approval. I'm in define. So what do we have here? Okay, well, rather than one form that we had to complete at the start, we now have several forms. I can have as few or as many forms as I like here, but essentially we're going to go and we're going to capture information that we're going to need to be able to make decisions on this. Okay, let's pick some here for an example. Okay, what might we need to know in terms of making decisions on this? Okay, well, I want to know how much this project is going to cost. Now, typically in Microsoft Project or previous versions of EPM, I may open up Microsoft Projects and create a plan with costed resources. But I don't need to know that level of detail at this stage. Here I have a simple grid-based capture of information, and I just want this simple level of detail to be able to capture my potential costs against. So you see here, I have a very simple cost breakdown structure, and I've defined some cost centers, and I can come and see here how I capture time-phased information, very simple grid style, to the level that I need to capture this to see the cost. Okay, so we can understand how much it's going to cost. What else might we want to capture? A lot of customers that we work with can articulate benefits in terms of a financial element. So here, same as I had a cost estimate form, I have a benefit estimate form. And I can go forward and consider all the other things I might want to capture against this. Risk, as an example, could be a potential element I want to measure here. And I just have a simple, richer style of form here for capturing this information. Okay, the final form I want to show here is going to lead us into the next phase in our workflow, which is the select phase. And what I have here is now I need to consider how I align my projects to my strategic objectives. Okay, so we can see here that this company that we're working with here has been through a process of defining strategic objectives of business drivers. You know, they want to expand into new markets and segments. They want to improve their customer satisfaction score. And we have a simple form here to say how strong, medium, etc. does this potential project support these objectives. So we can go and select this here. And we can be quite measurable in how we define this, so it is not too subjective about how we define this. So I can go and complete this form. Essentially what we're then going to do, if we think about how we're going to take this forward is that we are capturing here potential projects, pieces of work, programs, even business as usual. And we're going to have multiple potential projects here and in-flight projects. And we're going to go through a process through each of these of aligning projects to the business drivers. Okay, let's see now my select phase in action. Let's come out of there. What I want to do now is I want to perform an analysis on these potential projects here that have gone through to my select phase, waiting a decision. Okay, so now I come to the strategy area of Microsoft EPM. Okay, so the process as an organization that we need to go through to achieve this. Okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to be able to define our strategic objectives. A lot of companies I deal with have been through this process and they understand their objectives very well. Others, this can be a piece of change at the executive level to be able to articulate these objectives. So I have here my fictitious company. We've seen this already here. We define a list of our objectives. Often as well, we may want departmental objectives. So we can say these are what the company wants to do, but the IT department therefore needs to focus on this, this, and this. Or marketing needs to focus on this, this, and this to support this. So we can have more than one list of objectives to which to measure on. Okay, the next thing that we then need to consider is that once we've defined all of our objectives, now we say to ourselves, okay, are all of these objectives equal in their importance? No, they are not. So we need to therefore go through a process of prioritizing these objectives. As we've already seen, we align projects to these objectives. So I want a bigger score to come to a project that strongly supports increasing market share in existing markets to one that merely improves employee satisfaction. So there's a couple of ways that we can go through this. We can come through and we can manually input these figures here. I've worked with organisations who have different ways of getting the executives together to make agreements. Or we actually have as well a pairwise comparison tool within here. And what this allows me to do is to each executive or to our group go through and capture how more or less important is this objective in comparison to this one, and this one. And we go through until we've compared every objective to every other one. So if you were wondering why I had a very accurate evening score of 35.44 then, that's because that came from my pairwise comparison. And if we use that, we also have a little measure here of how consistent we are in our answers there. So have I managed to contradict myself in the answers I gave there? Okay, so we've defined our strategic objectives. We've given them a prioritization. We've been through our process, which is controlled by the life cycle of aligning our projects and pieces of work to these business drivers. So now we can come and we can perform an analysis. Okay, so I'm just going to restart a one that I have within here. And I can see here that's from the input of these projects that I've selected. So I've selected all the projects in the select phase at the moment. However, I could include in-flight projects as well. And here is the data that we've captured, which therefore produces a strategic value score for each of these projects. Okay. Not much use as it is, unless I just wanted maybe an order in which to do things. Now what I want to do is actually start to analyse this portfolio, really in terms of what constraints I have over this, and being able to see the impact of decisions that I'm going to make on this. Okay, so what are we seeing here? We are seeing that if I deliver all of these projects, I will deliver 100% of the strategic value of the portfolio, naturally, but I will need to spend $21 million, pounds, whatever our currency is. Okay, well, then we go forward and we say, well, what if? Okay, what if I don't have $21 million, I've got $14.5 million. What does my portfolio look like under that constraint? So what the tool is going to do is it's going to go through an algorithm and it's going to say to me that if I do these projects and I do not do these projects, then by balancing strategic value against total cost, even though I'm spending, well, about 2/3 of my budget there, I can still deliver nearly 90% of the strategic value of this portfolio by picking the right projects. Okay, so I've never seen, and I don't think I ever will see, any organisation go, okay, thank you very much, I'll go and do these projects and not these ones. Actually, what we're going to do with this is we're going to see really the impact of the decisions that we make on our portfolio. So let's see some example of some decisions. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to select some of these, and I said, okay, I know you said not to do this, but it's a compliance project, or it's this is a configurable view, it's a pet project. You know, most organisations I talk to still have a he who shouts loudest, you know, this must be done. Okay, so let's select a couple of those. So I'm going to force a few in and let's force that one out. So what we're doing here is we're going to go through another set of calculation on the tool, and the tool will tell us that based on the impact of our decisions, now we will be delivering 81% of the strategic value of this portfolio for our $14.3 million. We can see the results here on a graph. This line that we are seeing is how much strategic value, the maximum strategic value I can deliver for my budget. So we can see here was our 14.5 million scenario, and now I'm moving away from this efficient frontier curve. I can go and I can create more comparisons. We can also consider here that total cost is not the only thing that I may wish to measure here. We can see here I can have my benefits figure, that we captured this from a benefits estimate. So I can also see how does my benefits figure go up or down as I make decisions on this portfolio. I can consider lots of other elements as well. So I can bring in time-faced or budget or department costs, for example, here, and bring those in. I can put in a return on investment calculation, for example. So now I have within my left-hand side here a return on investment figure, and I can see how that can go up and down depending on the decisions I make. And what we will do is we'll create lots of different scenarios of decisions. We can save them, we can go and we can compare them. We can take this to our board and say, here's our medium risk long-term gain, here's our short-term return on investment, here's our compliance scenarios. They're really very powerful, very quick, very live way of immediately seeing all the decisions that we take on our portfolio, potential portfolio of projects. Okay, so I'm going to not save this. I'm going to go back to my saved scenario, because once we've considered our costs type analyses, we can then go forward and consider another potential constraint on our portfolio, which is our resources. Okay, so here we are seeing the same list of projects again. Well, this is the list of projects that I will have taken through from the previous stage the analyse cost stage. And what we're looking here, we're looking at the resource demand on this. So data going into this, I don't need to produce a Microsoft project plan with resources against it. I can produce a very simple resource plan. You know, I need 3 project managers in July, I need 10 analysts in June, I need 2 plumbers in August. Very high level resource planning at this stage. And then it's looking at our entire resource pool, so all of our generic and all of our named resources that build up those skills, and all the projects that they're currently working on, and their current demand, and out of the remaining capacity, based on the simple resource plan that I have against this project, the tool is telling me that I have enough resource capacity to be able to deliver these projects, but I don't have enough resource capacity to deliver to 100% these projects. 100% is the cut-off line. And again, we go forward and we make decisions on our portfolio. So again, we have the ability to move projects in and out. So if I move this one in, what might therefore drop out because we don't have enough resources to be able to perform this. Here, however, not just force in, force out, I have another element of what if analysis, which is the start date. So again, very high level, we're not down to individual tasks within project start, we're just very simple start of project. Okay, so I have a report here that can show me, okay, where am I short of resources against these projects that I can't complete to 100%. So what this is going to show me is it's going to show me the resource types that I have demand on here. It'll show me the projects here that I have demand on. Okay, I don't really care about selected. Let's have a look at our not selected projects. Okay, software testing architecture upgrade. I don't have enough resources in October and November. I can expand to see which sorts. Okay, let's say, for the sake of argument, I don't really mind if I wait until December to be able to start this. Okay, let's go back to our Gantt view of this and consider that as a what if. Okay, software testing architecture upgrades. What if I didn't start that until December? I'll perform a calculation on this. And obviously, because I've chosen my example very carefully here, we will now see that, yes, there we are. I can now do this project, and that is moved in. Okay, so again, we can go through this. We can see, if I bring back my metrics here, the impacts of resource decisions have on total strategic value score, benefits, return on investment again. Again, I can create various different scenarios going forward and compare those as well. There is one extra level of what if analysis here we have on our resources though. So once we move them about and force them in and out to bring as much as we can out of our current resources, we can say to the tool, what if I had more? What if I hired 4 more resources? Please perform a calculation on that. So by measuring the strategic value of projects against their demand for resource, we can say that these are the most valuable projects to move in if I had more resources, and therefore these are the particular resources that I am short of that we could bring on that would deliver the most benefit to be able to promote those projects. Now, again, I have never seen anybody go, okay, then well, let's go forward and hire these people. But again, it is a support for our decision-making process. It is giving us information that we can base our decisions on. Live, trustable information. Okay, that brings us to the end of the demonstration. Please be aware, of course, that this is just one element of the EPM toolset. do look at our other webcast recordings for plan and managing, and also all the SharePoint capability. I just want to end today with a thought on how organisations can get to a point as this where we can use this. And really, when we consider the entirety of EPM and everything we can do, CPS works with organisations to be able to really define where the key requirements are, where the key pain points and benefits that can be made by implementing a change. And we can help organisations take through a staged path through particular areas of change and benefit that we can take through here. So in our example here, we've been following the sort of green path through here of portfolio analysis and governance over projects. Other clients might want to go detail into resources or time tracking and planning. Others more on controls, risk issues, documents, for example. Bear in mind there's plenty to this tool, so please do come and talk to us at CPS. Let us help you through this process of implementing productive change using the Microsoft EPM toolset. Thank you very much for your time today.